Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be taking a look at something a bit different today. Here we're going to take a look at the Hasbro 2016 Ocean Adventure Moana doll. Now this is the first ever doll review on this channel, and don't worry, do not expect many of these kinds of videos, like maybe one, at the most exaggerated too, because I don't collect dolls. And again, I'm much more of a figures person, so don't worry, you'll see Marvel Legends, you'll see Transformers, and all that other stuff, but don't expect many dolls. Now, case here for Moana, the reason why I have this doll is mainly because I really want a detailed, articulated Moana for my collection, since Moana is one of my favorite modern Disney characters, but sadly, Disney does not see the potential of a posable action figure, so we'll have to sell for either unposable deluxe Disney Store figurines or a doll. In this case, I prefer the doll. Now, I got her out of a thrift store, so she's definitely not in the best shape. But she was like $3, maybe $4, and I really like how she looked. I don't have the packaging, so I can't really showcase that, so I guess we should jump straight into the doll. So, first thing I need to mention is that this doll came out all the way back in 2016, back when Moana first came on theaters, and it's quite obvious this doll is based off of concept art, because the face doesn't entirely look like Moana. Like, yeah, at first glance you can say, oh, that's Moana, but it's not entirely there. It's based off of concept art, and I have checked out some Moana concept art, and she definitely did look more like this in those drawings than in the actual movie, so I think it's cool, and that's mainly why I like this version of Moana, because of how she's based off of concept art. But apart from that, her outfit is really well done. You can see her necklace and her top, which that's something I really need to talk about. Now, I'd recommend that if you buy a doll at stores or whatever, you find one in box, and if she comes with a top like Moana here, do not remove it unless you plan on playing dress up with her, because the issue here is that she had these sort of transparent straps, I guess I could call them, and those were what kept her top up. So whenever you try to articulate it, it goes down. And yeah, I really dislike that, and I might have to get some transparent rubber bands or something, I don't know, just to make sure it doesn't keep falling off. So again, I recommend, unless you're going to play dress up, do not remove those straps. But you can see there that the plastic, yeah, it's a different color, different shade of plastic between the arms and the torso, but it's understandable. Even the most deluxe dolls have that issue. But here at her skirt, yeah, this is something that I'm pretty sure some people will dislike about this version of Moana, is that it's one whole printed cloth. Well, something like the deluxe Disney Store Moana doll, which you can expect a review on later on, and that one has a much more detailed skirt. Well, this one is just one whole print. But again, this one was meant to be played with. The Disney Store one is definitely more of a collector piece. So, in that regard, again, being the first commercially available Moana doll and being meant to be played with, makes sense for her to have her skirt be as simplified as possible. And something else I found super interesting about the doll is that she has some pretty large feet. And this probably comes down mainly to the fact that Moana never uses shoes or anything like that, so she definitely needs larger feet so she can stand upright, because as we all know, Barbies usually have their feet lifted, so you can get them heels and such, but in this case, you'll probably never want to get Moana shoes, so I think it works here. And something else that is super interesting to me about this Moana is something that the camera can't really pick up very well, but they actually detail her toenails and her fingernails. And that's a really cool detail that they really shouldn't have included, but I think it gives another edge of detail to this doll, and I think it's super cool. A lot of Moana dolls do that, especially these sort of 8-inch to 11-inch dolls. And here, rotating her, you can see there that her hair has definitely not in the best shape. I'm pretty sure she was played with by some little girl who combed her hair, and she lost a lot of the curve to her hair. So yeah, it's kind of unfortunate. You can see there how some hair is dangling. You can also see the Velcro strap that keeps her skirt up. It's the same material used for her top, So it's very easy to remove her clothes. I'm not going to do that. But now she fell down. I'm sorry, just not used to holding much larger figures in this backdrop. But now let's take a look at her articulation. Okay, so starting off with Moana's articulation, I have to be honest, this might be one of the most articulated Moana things out there. So, first off, her head can move side to side, not really much up and down, but that's mainly because she has some, I guess we could call it abduction, not entirely sure, this sort of waist-like joint, and that is super awesome. I really like that detail about this Moana. Again, you can see her top is slightly falling down. Her arms are in this sort of ball joint, I guess we could call it. You can see there the arms, the elbows, sadly nothing at the hands. And it's a really interesting material. Like, it's a very different material, not just in the color, but also in the feel. Like, when you touch the body, it's not the same as the arms or the legs. But here's my favorite part. She has, apart from her legs kicking like that, she has, get this, knee joints. That is super awesome, and I wish every single Moana doll, figure, etc. came with that, because that is super awesome. That's mainly why I really still like this Moana doll, is because of how poseable she actually is. Because in the movie, one of the things I like about Moana is the character's how agile she is, like how she runs, jumps, swims, etc. And I do feel like this is a character who definitely needs knee and elbow joints. So I don't get why most dolls, why a lot of Moana dolls tend to just give her as basic articulation as you can, like 68, like the 1960s Barbie articulation, just being able to sort of move the legs, the arms, the head, and that's kind of it. So I do think that as poseable as Moana dolls get, this is really fantastic. And I really wish we get more articulate dolls, because again, I do think that the knees are probably my favorite part of this different Moana. Like, sure, the Disney Store one, which we'll take a look at in a moment, is more detailed, but not as well articulated in the knees. But overall, I really love the articulation of this Moana. But now let's have some fun, and let's do some random size comparisons. And of course, this is a doll. Everything else I'm going to showcase are figures. So, of course, they're never meant to be on scale, but just think it's kind of funny. And just to give you an idea of her height, we'll compare her to a bunch of random figures in my collection, just to see how she scales. So, first size comparison, here is the original 2016 Hasbro doll next to the Disney Store Deluxe Moana doll. Now, yeah, in terms of accuracy, yeah, there's no competition. Of course, the Disney Store one beats her at that. But again, apart from the charm of being one of the first commercially available Moana dolls, the knee joints are really what makes the 2016 Moana shine to me. Because sure, the Disney Store one is still very fantastic, much more accurate clothing, much more accurate design, much more accurate face, but I really think that if the Disney Store one had knee joints, she would be perfect. But you can see these sort of, I'm not even sure what I can call them, here under Moana's dress. I guess those could get stuck in the knee joints. But again, I really wish the Disney Store Moana had knee joints, but she kind of makes up for it with wrist joints instead of knee joints, which it is nice to pose her like this, but again, I really wish she had knee joints. But apart from that, here they are. Expect the video for the Disney Store Moana later on. Okay, so for the first batch of non-doll comparisons, here we have Moana next to some Transformers. And yeah, the scale is super way off. Optimus Prime towers over any human. So it's hilarious to see Moana here tower over Optimus Prime now. Like, imagine if this actually happened. That would be insane. Of course, it will never happen. It's a good thing it'll never happen. So, yeah, it's pretty hilariously insane scale. And I guess that's why a lot of people who collect stuff like action figures don't collect dolls, because they just feel like they're grossly out of scale. And sure, they're super out of scale, but personally I think it's kind of fun to look at just how massive she is. And also, and you'll also see here on the comparisons that we also have Core Class Shockwave and Weaponizer, Skullcruncher, and Rhinox. Also expect reviews for those. And now let's take a look at some other of Moana's farther Hasbro cousins. the Marvel Legends. And yeah, it's even, I don't know which one is funnier, because Moana should be like a 5-inch figure in comparison to all of these characters. Of course, Moana should not be taller than Chris Pratt. And especially, to me, the funniest has to be She-Hulk. Like, She-Hulk is super tall in comparison to all the other characters, but she's short in comparison to Moana. And you'll also see here a new character to the comparisons. Jessica Drew's Spider-Woman, and Okoye just fell down. Also expect reviews for the rest of these Marvel Legends characters. And now let's take a look at some even crazier size comparisons. Here she is next to some Moose Toy Space Jam New Legacy figures, and yeah, it's even funnier seeing how small LeBron James looks in comparison, because, again, LeBron James is a super tall person, so it's pretty hilarious to see how he's basically dwarfed in this figure in compared to Moana, and sure, again, never meant to be on scale. And already, in comparison to Marvel Legends, he was already pretty short, so it's even funnier seeing it here, but I just thought it'd be fun to compare them. And another new character here, this Lola Bunny Wonder Woman, which also expect a review for. Here are some 4-inch Sonic characters, Sonic and Knuckles, two newcomers. Here we have the recent Jakks Pacific Metroid Samus Aran figure, which also expect a review for, and 2.5-inch Classic Sonic. Now, in this case, again, scale truly does not work. In this case, I do think that the Sonic Prime figures might be more in scale here with Moana. Of course, it's truly hilarious scaling. And now for one of the craziest size comparisons. Here we have Moana next to the Jakks Pacific 1-inch, I believe, 1-inch Miss Koopa Paratroopa. And yeah, it's so hilarious how puny the Koopa Paratroopa looks. Like, let me zoom in. Truly insane. The Koopa Troopa, if he wanted to face Moana, he would not stand a chance. He could get squished like a bug. And I thought it'd be just funny to compare one of the largest characters in my collection to one of the smallest. Also expect a review for the Koopa Paratroopa. And yeah, it's pretty funny just seeing how puny this character is in comparison to massive Moana over here, and this is not even tall twin, like you saw at the Disney Store one towers over this one. So even imagine how this Koopa Paratrooper looks in comparison to that one. And now I don't have any other size comparisons. Let's end this. So to round things out here, is this 2016 Hasbro Moana doll still worth it? Really depends on what you want. Personally, I do really like this doll, mainly because of how she has a very concept art look to her, and especially the knee joints. Those are probably my favorite part of this doll, and you can definitely pull out some pretty epic poses like this one of her being on one knee. Again, Moana in the movie runs, jumps, etc., so I do think that knee joints would definitely benefit any kind of doll or figure they made for her, so I still don't get why many Moana dolls nowadays don't include that. And overall, it really depends on what you want. Like, if you just want an accurate looking Moana just to have on display, the Disney Store one is for you. But if you like sort of the concept art character looks for the characters, or if you just want to articulate a Moana more articulate than the Disney Store one, and you don't really mind if the doll is used, I recommend this one, because again, I got her off a thrift store, and you'll definitely have a bit of a harder time finding like a new looking one, since, you know, these were meant to be played with, kids play with them. As you can see here, how a lot of Moana's curls on her hair have disappeared, because I'm pretty sure the original owner combed her hair. And overall, I like this doll. And again, expect reviews for a lot of the other stuff I showcased in this video. But that's it. I really like this Moana. And that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Please let me know in the comments what you thought about my first doll review. And one of the only ones, okay? Do not expect many other doll reviews. Like, expect Moana, and maybe, just maybe, possibly, who knows, one extra one, but do not expect dolls, okay? This is a one-off thing, and do not expect more.